I could do the whole song. We could do the whole song. The Ramones. I've told you. Ramones come on the car.
Yeah.
Kids do not talk.
Now, are you a good singer?
Oh, God, no. I'm awful. I sound like some poor injured dog in an alley. No, I mean, if I do drunk karaoke, I think I sound phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm probably right there with you. If I can sing in a deep enough country accent, I think it sounds okay.
Isn't that weird? Like if you take it like this a little bit more, then you sound better?
Yeah, well, I kind of, it glosses over your, lyrical or flaws.
How about you suck normally?
Yeah,
exactly.
I've only ever done karaoke publicly once at a Christmas party, a work Christmas party a couple years ago. I had a couple drinks, so I was feeling good about it. And I did Cruise by Florida Georgia Line because they sing in really country accents. I'm all right, well, I can sound okay doing this. Only time I've ever done it.
There was a girl I went out with a long time ago, and she worked at this one bar or this club, and they would have these karaoke nights every Wednesday, Thursday, and she was dying to go. And I'm like, I don't want to go. And then, she persuaded me, and we would go, and it was like 8 or 10 of us. And we're sitting there, and of course, we're knocking down beers or whatever.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, and then, for some reason, we'd end up on stage singing Love Shack by the B-52s. And we did the guy parts in a very over-the-top way.
Sure.
If you know the B-52s.
Right.
Love Shack, baby. And it was, kind of went a little, again, we were feeling no pain.
Oh, there's no phone cameras back then.
No, thank God. That's all I got to say. That was, So that's the only time I ever really did karaoke.
That you remember.
It's a good point. It could be a lot of other dark days where I woke up in the woods going, what the hell did we do last night? But anyway, all right, so we're hanging. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, halftime show on the game. If you are obviously anywhere in the low country, they would call it, the Charleston area, Myrtle Beach, wherever we're seeing the tropical storm Debbie hitting. First of all, we hope you're safe. We hope you're staying out of this whole mess. And I'm just looking up here. Wind gusts are in some spots 26 miles an hour. In Charleston, you and I were talking about this on the phone yesterday morning. When your boy Jim Couture from the Weather Channel shows up in your town,
that's a bad sign.
Bad sign.
You better leave if you see him.
Go fast. Get away from. I don't care why he's there. If he could be stopping to get something to eat, right?
He could be there visiting his mom.
Don't care. Go. Get out of town. When Jim Couture's there from the Weather Channel, bad things are there.
It could be a bright, sunny day without a cloud in the sky. Just assume that the worst storm you've ever seen is going to be coming soon.
It is coming. They also have a tornado watch going on as well, according to the Weather Channel, until 5 p.m. For parts of coastal North Carolina and South Carolina. So that's coming up here on the Weather Channel as well. So again, you know what's up. If you live around here, you know the drill because you go through this every so often. But just stay out of harm's way. State of emergency in Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. So we had there's a tropical storm my first year here.
It was 22. Do you remember the name of it? I could not remember the name of it because it moved the South Carolina State game up 2 days.
Yep. I remember I drove north through it.
Oof.
Because I'm nuts. But I had to go. I couldn't go the normal way, 95, because it was really bad, the 95 corridor. So I had to drive 77, and eventually puts me on I-81, which is the road to hell.
Right.
I hate 81. I hate Interstate 81. So I had to drive Interstate 81, which was miserable, through a tropical storm. So it was miserable. But that one kicked up pretty good. So I don't know what this one is compared to a couple years ago. But we'll see. But again, just hang home, stay safe. Don't put yourself out where you don't have to be. And if you're listening, especially in Florence, Myrtle Beach area, just again, Jim Couture is on the TV right now. Nobody wants him in town.
I was say, is he under 8 feet of water?
No, it's there's some accumulation. I'll put it that way. There's some accumulation going there.
Was it? Let's see here. Was that Hurricane Ian 2 years ago? Is that right?
That sounds about right.
Okay.
I think it was Ian. Debbie will move into the Northeast by Friday. And from what engineer Ed here was showing me on his, because, he's a registered meteorologist too. Everyone's a registered meteorologist, AMS certified. He showed me he's got a little, like a radar thing with the storm. And it's supposed to be whatever it is by the time it gets here will be between 2 p.m. Thursday and 2 a.m. Friday. There's a 12-hour window.
It's going to be the rough part.
Yeah, that's according to engineer Ed's engineer weather app that engineers get.
I'll take his word for it.
Uh-huh. All right, South Carolina obviously still rolling through summer camp. Heard from the defensive coaches yesterday, Sterling Lucas, who coaches the edge players and the outside linebackers, Tavion Robertson, who coaches the defensive line, both talking to the media. Also, some wide receivers were talking yesterday as well. So we're going to get you a bunch of Carolina sound. That's coming up here on the show. And, we've had these conversations over and over and over and over and over again about this roster. And just the depth of the roster is so much better than last year.
Sure.
Especially on the defensive side of the ball, especially on the first two levels of the defense, right?
Right.
I mean, interior defensive line was deep last year, but even deeper this year. The edge is totally different, but it needed to be. It just wasn't acceptable last year. There wasn't consistent pass rush off the edge, not consistent big playmaking off the edge. You just had to get upgraded. Kyle Kennard, Dylan Stewart, Gilbert Edmond, plus you have what you're hoping is Desu is a year older. Everyone's waiting for Brian Thomas to pop. Mm-hmm. Because you see every now and then you'll get a splash play, a big play, or he just does something where you go, why didn't he do that more?
Yeah.
It was sort of like me watching Xavier Legette my first year here.
Sure. You see the little, the framework of what he can be.
And you're like, why can't he be that way more often? And with Legette, part of it was the offense they were running. And I think the play calling. And then once you added Dow Loggins last year, Spencer Rattler was in his second year. I think they just, and then of course Juice Wells got hurt and things just, then you got to see the Xavier Legette consistently that you saw just those little sparks.
Right.
And Thomas is like that, like, 2 spring games now. Thomas is out there doing stuff and you watch him and he makes a play or two or he does something that causes havoc and you're like, can anybody harness that man so we can get a little consistency on that stuff?
Right.
Because and there's a Brian Thomas cut in here from Sterling Lucas we're going to play probably in the next segment. But it's a very deep first two levels of the defense. The linebackers, just on paper, it's so much better. It's so much better. With the combination of the transfer portal and freshmen coming in to add to Debo and Bam Martin-Scott, I think here's the interesting thing. Linebacker as a whole last year was not a positive. I mean, Debo Williams obviously was far and away the best linebacker you had until November when they changed the defense and Bam Martin-Scott started to pop. Mm-hmm. But linebacker was an issue. I mean, it just was. I'm talking about the entire room. I think it's a positive this year. It looks like it could really, these guys could make a difference.
Yeah, and this is assuming everybody stays healthy. You don't get dealt the injury bug like offensive line had a year ago. But you got Debo coming back. Bam Martin-Scott, we saw what we wanted to see out of him at the end of last season. You bring in guys with a lot of experience in Kamara and Demetrius Knight, and you got 2 freshmen that are turning a lot of heads early. Does that mean they're going to go out there and set the world on fire? No, but everything that you've heard about them up to this point is advertised and could find their way into that rotation if things work out a certain way.
If they're just better than last year, right? If they're solid. Last year, they weren't solid. I mean, look, again, putting Debo Williams aside, because Debo Williams obviously was the best linebacker on the roster. Mm-hmm. As a whole, there just wasn't enough there. And this year, it feels like not only is there enough to hold their own, but hopefully they can make a difference. Mm-hmm. And the thing about the depth, and you're right, I mean, look, guys get hurt because last time I checked, they just run really fast to each other with bad intentions. You have so much depth on those first 2 levels. If a guy or 2 gets hurt, it's going to stink, but you still have some guys where you feel if they step up, they can hold their own.
Right.
It's not like, well, we're going to say we hope they can step up or we think or maybe they can or whatever. I just have that feeling you're more confident in your rotations on the first two levels.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But we'll hear from Sterling Lucas, Tavion Robertson as they will talk about the defensive line, the edge, and the linebackers. Also, we've got some wide receivers we'll hear from. A lot of people like Mazeo Bennett. They say that he's looking pretty good so far in the limited summer camp they've had. We saw him make a couple catches in the spring game. We'll see. Got a lot of wide receivers, Tyler. Tons of them. Tons of them. Just need a few to pop.
You do. And with this room being as wide open as it is, that does allow Mazeo Bennett, if he is as advertised, to maybe make his way into that starting 3 or 4, be one of those guys that finds his way on the field, more often than not. But even if he doesn't, I mean, he's a true freshman, so you've got plenty of time, assuming he sticks around, to let him develop into maybe one of your better receivers as time goes on.
Yeah, you got a nice little mix of guys who are veterans, a couple guys who are going to be one and doneers, and then you have your young'uns here for the last couple years. You hope that start to develop. Because at the end of the day, we all love the transfer portal because it's fun. It's sort of like free agency in the NFL or Major League Baseball or the NBA or whatever. But you still are going to be building from the base of high school recruiting and development.
Right.
You just are. So at some point, these guys have to start developing. Obviously, the younger, the better. But, the transfer portal should only be used when you take a step back and look at your roster and say, okay, we have a weakness here, here, and here. Let's go attack it in the portal. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be let's rebuild our team through the portal.
No, that is not a sustainable business model.
That's just temporary, man. Just temporary. So we will hear from Sterling Lucas, Tavion Robertson, also some player sound as well. And what does Greg McElroy think? My workout buddy.
I was going to say, you must have had a really good influence on him when you were
boys.
When you guys were, out there deadlifting 800 pounds.
Yeah, I go, Greg, what are you cleaning? 450. When you get to 5, call me. I want to work in with you.
I was like, oh, you're doing my warm up.
Yeah. I close grip that, Greg. I
lift that in my sleep.
That's right. Greg McElroy, what does he think of the Gamecocks' chance of going bowling? We'll get that in here as well. All right. Again, we'll come back and get that sound from Coach Lucas and Coach Robertson. Also, the best Gamecock moment since the year 2000. Please, if you have not yet, or if you want to vote some more, go to our Twitter X and you vote the 4 finalists right now. Far and away, the 2010 College World Series victory over UCLA is far and away leading this thing. 60, almost 70%.
It's hard to beat national championships.
It is. It's very difficult,
especially the first one.
Yeah, and and plus the Whit Merrifield, the iconic moment of the game-winning hit, and so that right now is leading. It's lapping the field, but we're going to have the votes going until Friday. So feel free to jump in, put your vote, get your vote. Just click it. And sponsored, by the way, by our friends at Columbia Craft in the Vista, famously hopped Columbia Craft. And Elijah, I give him credit. He's fallen on the sword, and he's going to try all 16 craft beers.
Okay.
Well, he's dedicated. And honestly, if you go on our Twitter X and you go to our feed, Elijah's done a great job of putting videos in for all 16 moments that we put up for you to vote on. And again, when people are hitting us on Twitter X about, the vote, this is a fan vote, a listener vote. This is not us.
Y'all chose the final list.
Right. We put 16 out there. The vote paired it to 4, and now the vote's going to pick a winner. We did not do any of that. Wasn't us. All right, we'll come back. We're going to hear from Coach Lucas and Coach Robertson about their departments on the football team. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head till 3 on the game. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, up until 3. Again, just kind of checking out the old Weather Channel here. They say the wind gusts in Myrtle Beach will be about 40-plus miles an hour today, 30-plus miles an hour tomorrow.
You weren't planning on going to the beach tomorrow, were you?
Yeah.
The waves for riding like a boogie board must be insane right now.
That would be sweet. I've never been surfing. I do like the boogie board stuff, though.
Well,
that's fun.
Little safer.
Yeah. I think surfing would be fun. Like the younger version of me would have loved to do the surfing thing.
You know, after watching some Olympic surfing where they're trying to surf like those 40-foot pipes, I'm like, I'm good.
I mean, the older version of me is like, no way. Nah, no thanks. When I was younger, man, it looked like fun. That looked like fun. Now it's like, I'll just, I'll go.
Well, you also had long hair, so you're automatically supposed to know how to surf.
I'll be a surfer, right? I automatically had long hair, and I automatically wanted to buy drugs.
Exactly.
That was my life.
You said it, I didn't.
It was so fun. I told you. I don't want to do the accent because I'll sound mean. But I would be sitting there like I would go to Mexico, went to the Bahamas. Hey, long hair guy, you want to buy some weed? It's like that. When I had long hair, I used to get pulled over all the time.
I'm sure you did.
Now that
I'm sure you looked very suspicious.
Now that I have no hair, ask me how many times I get pulled over.
Probably not a lot.
Not much. There's so many things I could get away with now that I have no hair.
See, there's half a body hanging out of the trunk of his car. He's balding. He's all
got
right.
No hair. Look at that guy. He's safe. He's safe. It's probably probably a mannequin. All right, so South Carolina, as summer camp rolls along, Sterling Lucas and Tavion Robertson talking to the media yesterday. Lucas, obviously, who coaches the edge and the outside linebackers, he was talking about getting more sacks and the technique involved in getting more sacks because South Carolina needs to up pressures, hurries, hits, sacks, all of it. But here's Coach Lucas talking about, the technique for finishing all these things and ending them in the quarterback laying on the ground in pain.
I think really is, number one thing we talk about is approach to get off, right? Getting off the football, right? Then we talk about getting in the combat zone, half a man rushes, right? Whatever your fastball rushes is, making sure that you're throwing it, whether that's a club rip, whether that's a stab club, whatever your fastball rushes is, right? And then the most important phase is finish, right? That's turning your toe at the level of the quarterback. We talk about turning your toe and run, reach, right? Trying to get script sacks, right? Get the ball back to Lenoris and Robbie Ashford and those guys, those really good quarterbacks that we got.
Yeah, I guess what you take from that is obviously your get off, which is how quick, once the ball's snapped, how quick you attack. And then the finishing of getting, look, some guys, you'll see stats now that we get to see all these different stats. Pro Football Focus, SEC StatCat, whatever it is. You see all these different deep dive stats. Oh, this guy gets hurries and he gets pressures, but he doesn't get sacks. There are closers in this life. Coffee's for closers.
Sure.
There are people who can close the deal and everything. One is sacks. Some guys they can turn the pressure into sacks. Some guys, they just don't get there. Whatever it is, and you hear Lucas talking about finishing the rush and turning it into a sack. And then the next level, while you're doing it, can you also force the game-changing turnover?
And the sacks were a problem for South Carolina last year, tied for 105th in the nation with just 21 over the course of the entire season last year. And yes, you do have some hurries and some pressures and all that kind of stuff. And, if that leads to quarterback making a bad throw or throwing an interception or something along those lines, that's fine. But as a whole, this is something that does need to take a huge step forward for this team this year.
I mean, we go back to the hurry, the pressure put on in the Jacksonville State game led to the bad throw, which led to Stone Blanton's pick six that basically saved the game. But, yeah, at the end of the day, perfect world is you're sacking quarterbacks and you're hitting them. And South Carolina, it's just got to get better. It just does. I mean, look, we talk about the coverage issue last year, with the slot wide receiver versus the nickel DB or the safety. You know what helps that? Quarterback laying on his back.
Mm-hmm.
Can't beat you if he can't throw the ball.
That's right.
So, I mean, look, do you need to have guys who can cover because you can't sack the quarterback on every drop back? Sure. But if you can put more pressure on a quarterback to, at the very least, screw up the timing of a passing game, at the very least, that's a good thing. But you got to also get guys who can finish and just start sacking guys.
Sure.
I mean, you need more pressure. And that's what we're hoping for with a Kennard or a Stewart or Gilbert Edmond coming back, or DJU being the guy that everybody, DJU being the guy that we were hoping he'll be at some point. Brian Thomas, we're going to play a cut about Brian Thomas here in a minute. And we're going to do that. Sterling Lucas talking about one of these guys. Could Brian Thomas finally pop and be a consistent, havoc creator coming off the edge? Here's Sterling Lucas talking about Brian Thomas.
Absolutely. When you talk about those sacks, he had a lot of pressures last year, so his next step is finishing those to be sacks. That Texas A&M game was a good example of him turning his toe, and he ended up getting a strip sack in that game as well. So I'm looking forward to big things from Brian Thomas this year.
Yeah, it's that finishing and making the sack, completing the play. And Thomas, like I say, you see it every now and then with him. Can he make it consistent? Can he start being a guy that you don't just flash every now and then, but every game he's causing some kind of disruption?
Yeah, like I said, that A&M game kind of across the board was his best game overall last season. Did include a sack, got a couple hurries on there as well. And that's kind of the thing that he was doing consistently for the most part throughout the season. Even in the Georgia game, had 3 hurries in that. Ended up the season with 12 total. So he's in the vicinity. He's in the area of the quarterback. It's just completing and finishing off those sacks is something that he definitely needs to improve on. Only having that one last season against Texas A&M. So again, he's somebody when it comes to progression and development and all that kind of stuff. What kind of steps forward is he making this offseason and through fall camp that can make him better when the season gets here?
Yeah, so we hope he's a guy that can bring that more consistently and become a guy who is sacking quarterbacks, hitting quarterbacks, causing disruption, making big plays that cause 2nd and 14. Mm-hmm. That's the hope on Brian Thomas. We'll hear more from Coach Lucas. Also get some Coach Robertson in here. What equals success? Tavian Robertson's going to tell us in the next segment as we continue on. It's a halftime show. Terry Ford Tyler had some more Gamecock sound next here on the halftime show on the game. All right, the Men's Clinic of South Carolina, Dr. Dan and the staff, we talk about this all the time. You just show up after you make a call, 803-875-MENS. You go in, it's a free consultation, it's confidential, you tell your story. You're just not sleeping right. You don't have the energy you used to have. You're not as strong at the gym. You don't recover from workouts. You don't have any life drive, sex drive, professional drive. All your drive is gone. It could be any of these things that are going on in your life, and it could just be something simple, low testosterone. That's all. Just low testosterone. One way to find out, go see Dr. Dan, the folks at the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Again, 803-875-MENS. If they do think it's low testosterone, they'll put you on a program that is designed for you specifically to get you back to being you again. 803-875-MENS, Men's Clinic. What we're talking about is Carolina football. And, of course, Hurricane Debbie, which is trucking along. Well, it's a tropical storm now, right?
I believe so.
So, Tropical Storm Debbie. Rain is obviously, it's sideways around here. The wind is going. Rain's starting to go a little sideways.
There was a guy that walked past the window a little bit earlier, like every classic cartoon where his umbrella was inside out. It looked like it was just pulling him down the street.
Yes. Also, he's just being dragged.
Yeah. Holding on to his top hat somehow.
Yeah. So, yes, again, it's not going to be good around here the next few days. So, and if you're in Myrtle Beach listening, we appreciate it. But, yeah, right now you got some gusting winds and some rain, and obviously Charleston and those areas as well. And this is just the next up until probably, early Friday morning.
Believe so.
Is what we're looking at here. So, we said Jim Couture's here from the Weather Channel, never a good sign. Like the Grim Reaper of weather. So he's hanging around, so just be safe. Possible high risk of flooding the next few days. So, all right, Coach Tavian Robertson, talking to the media yesterday, defensive line coach. And here's what Coach Robertson, this is what he says, this is what you got to do if you want success. Hit it.
For me, we suffered last year. We went 5-7, and so I'm a big believer that suffer equals success. So we suffered. We learned a lot. We had a lot of growing pains. We got better towards the end of the year, and so just one thing I learned: just keep going. Everything is not going to be peaches and cream. Every day is not going to be a bad day. It's not going to be a good day. But believe in the culture, believe in what we put in, and just keep going. But I do think that we're a closer team. We're a better team, and we just got to put the work in this month.
Suffering will lead to success. The thing about it, Tyler, and I think it was Chris Clark on Gamecock Central put up a post, was it either yesterday or today, about the winning formula.
Mm-hmm.
And Tavian Robertson's kind of talking about, look, last year stunk. It was year 5-7. Nobody wants that. Nobody was happy. Sure. Shane Beamer didn't go, wow, it was almost 6.
Right.
No, I mean, you could tell look, there was no fun little off-season social media stuff like we saw the first 2 years. There was no beating and pounding the chest of, hey, look where we're at after year 3. Changes in the coaching staff. Shane was, not only did they bring in new coaches, but Shane was moving, like he moved Coach Stepp over to the tight ends, and Stepp said, I'm good, I'm going to take off and roll off to Illinois. But he was moving guys around to even coach different positions, moved Mario Hardesty out as the running back coach. Obviously Shane wasn't happy either. And so, there was a lot of suffering last year. Going into last year, everybody looked at them as a up-and-coming darling program after the 8-win year. And last season was landed with a thud, man.
It's like when you lose your Little League baseball game and you're upset about it, and your dad just says, builds character.
Yeah, that's right. Gives you those scabs you need.
Exactly, a callus on the hands.
That's right. Eat some dirt. Good for your immune system.
That's right. So, you kind of look at it like, okay, is this what we're going to be? Or are we going to learn from this and get better?
We ate some dirt. Good for our immune system. Let's go. Now we're more powerful. That dirt-eating kid never got sick in the neighborhood.
No.
I just thought about that.
I wonder where that kid is now.
Yeah, he also, picked his nose and ate it. He just ate everything. It wasn't like
he's invincible.
There was no rhyme or reason to it. It wasn't like, I'm going to eat some dirt because my immune system's good. He just eat stuff. That's all. Kid never got sick.
Amazingly.
So, didn't get a girlfriend either, but he never got sick.
Can't win them all.
Oh, you're going out with Johnny the Dirt Eater. Okay. Last year, it was suffering. I mean, you don't want to go 5-7. That's not what you sign up for in the SEC. That's not what Shane Beamer signed up for. Fans, university. Let's give Shane a raise so we'll go 5-7. No, of course not. So you did go through the suffering, and you hope that suffering led to motivation in the offseason. To, if you're a player, last year I went and did this and that and had some fun and ran off to Myrtle Beach or did this or that. Went with my buddies to, Florida, to Destin or whatever. I'm going to stay home and lift weights. I'm going to stay home and, work on my cardio, work on my quickness, my speed, my explosion, my conditioning. Pilates. They've gone Pilates crazy across the street.
Sure. Well, I was going to say, does, sticking around in the month of May and doing a specific workout on a Tuesday, is that going to be the difference between you winning and a losing game? Probably not, but it's more the principle of everybody buying in and understanding what happened last year wasn't acceptable. We all got to make ourselves better. We got to make this team better to be improved in this upcoming season.
No, that's the point. It's that extra plyometric jump you did in May doesn't mean you're going to win in September. But what it does, it shows that last season wasn't acceptable to you. It shows a mindset. It shows, you know what, last year stunk, and I don't want to go through that again. So I'm going to, when that ball gets teed up against Old Dominion, I want to be able to look in the mirror and say I did everything humanly possible to make myself ready for this year and make myself better.
Sure.
And that's all you can ask from anyone. And we heard a lot of that this year. A lot of dudes hung out. A lot of guys worked out, because last year was unacceptable. I always go back to talking to Debo Williams at SEC Media Days. I mean, you just got that vibe. Look, last year, we're not doing that again.
Mm.
And so does that mean they're going to be a lot better? And we'll find out. But you have to, or at least I think you have to, as a Gamecock fan, say, I heard enough and saw enough and watched enough to where it feels like these guys, nasty taste in their mouth from last year.
Doesn't feel good.
No, we'll see where it goes from there. But suffering, there was a lot of suffering. Yes, I do agree. And I thought there was something interesting in that winning formula post by Chris. I think we've touched on it a couple times, but it is a thing. Everybody points to NIL for everything. And is NIL, does it matter? Yeah, we know it does.
Sure.
But there's other things too. I mean, players, they want NIL. They also want to develop to go to the NFL. And they like to win. Because winning's fun, Tyler.
Yes.
We all like winning. We all like success. Success makes the world better. Like just in your life. You got money in the bank,
Feeling
you
pretty
feel
good.
better. Hey, let's go out to eat. Well, we really don't have the money. What's in the cabinet? Ready? Canned ravioli and some ramen.
Spam and crackers.
Here we go. Success makes everybody feel better. Success is nice. Why do you think if you look at attendance in professional sports, most of the teams that lead the way in attendance, not all of them, but most of them are winning teams.
That's right.
You look at the bottom of attendance, not all of them, but most of them are losing teams.
Yes.
Why? People like to be associated with winners.
That's right.
I go home now. When I go to my hometown of Baltimore, you would be amazed at how many Oriole jerseys you see now.
Because they're winning.
Because they're winning. A few years ago, you saw Yankee jerseys or Red Sox jerseys. You didn't see a lot. Now you see Oriole gear everywhere.
Right.
People like to be associated with winners.
The Terps went 10-2 this year and made the college football playoff. Guess what? See a lot more Terp stuff.
That's the only time. Look, if they're even 7-5, no one cares. But if they start winning like 9-10 games, they got into a college football playoff situation. Everybody be dusted off those Terp
everybody would be suddenly be a diehard Terps fan.
Yeah, they love them. I love them my whole life. Name 5.
Donatello, Michelangelo.
What was the other one?
Raphael.
Raphael, that's what I couldn't think of. Yeah. So people love winning and success. They just do. So the reason I bring that up, my point is, going back to Chris's post, when we talk about recruiting, yes, NIL is important. Yes, getting me to the NFL is important. But while I'm at your university, you know what I want to do a lot of? Winning.
Yeah.
Last year, this team went 5-7. The year before, when you win 8 games, it's easier to recruit when you win 8 games and go to the Gator Bowl and play Notre Dame.
Sure.
When you knocked off 2 top 10 teams. It's easier to go into a living room and talk about where you're going as a program, right? And
it's okay to have a dip every now and then. Mm-hmm. So, again, you went 8-5 the year before, went 5-7 this past year. And it's like, okay, that's a blip on the radar. This went wrong, injuries and all that kind of stuff. If you start putting together losing seasons, that's when things start turning against you, because those guys that you sold on the 2022 season, well, you're going to have a real tough time selling kids on back-to-back losing years.
Because right now it's a tougher sell than it was the year before.
Sure.
Because you went 5-7.
Right.
And people are negative recruiting against you.
But the 5-7 thing, you can at least say, hey, you're the missing piece. We get you in here. You're going to be the reason why we improve to 7 wins, 8 wins, whatever it may be. When you start losing over and over again, it's like, I think there's more than just one problem here, Coach.
There's a lot more than a missing piece.
Exactly.
And so that's why I'm not saying that's why this recruiting class has been not what we've seen in the last couple years, but could there be a part of that where, when you win 8 games, it's easier to seal the deal than when you go 5-7? Could that be a thing? Sure. That could be part of it. I don't think there's just one thing.
Right.
Like South Carolina over the weekend, and we're going to play during the show a cut from Chris and Wes about recruiting over the weekend. South Carolina went 1 for 3. I mean, sometimes it's a kid just wants to stay home, or the other school just blew them away for some reason, or they fit better with what they're going to do, or whatever it is. It's not always because you were 5-7. Your NIL isn't as good as somebody else's NIL. But what you want, again, is to be buttoned up in as many places as possible so you can win those battles.
Right.
If you're South Carolina, your battle in Georgia feels like all the time.
Right.
You're battling other SEC schools all the time. You're battling Clemson. You need everything in your recruiting toolkit, so to speak. And, a 5-7 just makes things a little more difficult. But like Tyler said, you don't want to be stacking 5-7s, then you got trouble. All right, we'll come back. Firehouse Sub, text the hour, 803-404-6100. Halftime show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head till 3 on the game. Time to check out the Firehouse sub-text, the hour at 803-404-6100. What do you got there, my man?
Going back to our conversation earlier about Jim Cantor from the Weather Channel being out in Charleston. Nameless texter weighs in and says he's the gray man. He's just the bad omen. So again, if you see him in your town, I don't care how nice the weather is, just assume the world's largest tornado is going to be there within half an hour.
It's like going to be a Michael Bay movie in like
Right.
15 minutes. Get out. He is showing up.
Trying to see. I saw him standing in the streets of Charleston. It didn't look too terrible, but again, he's probably going to be standing in like 5 feet of water in the next day or so.
Do you think if he shows up like that and it's not as bad as it's supposed to be, does he get bummed?
It's like, man,
there's no carnage. Man, there's no high winds. There's no roofs flying.
I am looking at this for anybody that's been down to Charleston, little street market that they have in the downtown area. Like, it is legitimately in about 1 foot to 2 feet of water from a video last night. So it is flooding down there.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, right now in Beaufort, they have over 11 inches of rain, according to the Weather Channel. I mean, honestly, like Charleston, Low Country, Myrtle Beach, areas like Charleston right now, 11 inches of rain. And obviously, just hopefully you're safe. And, nothing happens damage-wise to your home, your business, your vehicle, or anything, and you just hunker in and get through it. Myrtle Beach are showing a shot right now. A little bit of there's a few tree limbs laying around, but if that's the worst thing that happens,
Right.
that's not a bad thing.
You'll take it. It was I'm watching the video of him. It was Hurricane Ian 2 years ago, where he was in like the 60-mile-an-hour winds, holding on to like a street sign. It's like, I get it. You want to be in the thick of it, but like, man,
dude,
come on.
That's insane. I was talking upstairs with a couple of people. We were like, I remember that movie Twister, too, with Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt. Again, why would you want to chase tornadoes, chase hurricanes?
Listen, I don't get the tornado chasing. Then they just released Twisters a couple weeks. Like, I don't understand. Well, like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Hey, that big funnel cloud flying 100 and some miles an hour, I want to run toward that.
Yeah. And I mean, it has no give. Like,
No.
I don't care what kind of vehicle you're driving. It'll pick it up.
Yeah, you're flying. I don't get that. Look, again, when I was younger and crazier and everything, I like to do some whacked out stuff, but there is no way at any point in my life did I go, I would like to run right toward a tornado.
I was walking down the beach one time. This was at Jekyll Island in Georgia. It was middle of the summer and, nice day. There were some clouds moving in. And I remember I looked up, and for anybody that's been to Jekyll Island, there's an inlet between Jekyll Island and St. Simon's Island. And I looked up and I saw a funnel cloud above me. And between the two islands, a water spout formed, a little tornado there on the water. And it spun and, twirled around for a minute or two and went back up in the air. And as I saw it, spinning, I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to go the other way.
Right.
So I started walking back down the beach in the opposite direction.
So there was nothing inside you that said, I want to go toward that.
No, not at all. I was like, I'm going to get away from that thing. Now, again, it was a pretty harmless water spout, no big deal.
Doesn't matter.
It was pretty wild to see, but I'm like, I'm going to go the opposite direction. I want to get away from this thing.
It's like, if you live near a coast or around a coast, you probably experienced a hurricane at some point in your life.
Sure.
They're no fun either.
No.
They're no fun. No, the idea of being a weather guy, why I want to go stand in 60-mile-an-hour wind holding onto a sign. No, that's a hell no.
Hey, Jim, hope you know you're not getting paid overtime for this,
Right.
by the way.
If it gets over 50 miles an hour, do you get some kind of bonus?
Hey, do you get hazard pay for that?
I mean, you're nuts. You're a wacko. Right now in Hilton Head, 44 miles an hour
Oof.
with the gusts. So, appreciate yes, Texter. You are correct about Jim Cottori. Did he show up with like a black hood and a sickle?
I may as well.
I mean, jeez, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. So again, obviously, this area, right now we're hitting about 10, 15 mile an hour winds, whatever the case. We're getting rain, chance of rain, today, tomorrow, Thursday. So by the weekend, we'll have sunshine again.
Yes.
So, and there's Cottori standing in the middle of a street in Charleston, walking around. And yep, it is. It's up to it's a little bit above his shoes. 11 inches of rain right now. They've.
I hope he has like a rain boot dealer, because he's got to go through them like crazy.
No, yeah. So I don't like wet socks.
Yeah,
We've
that's what
had
you're
this
talking
conversation.
about. That's
I don't like wet socks.
It's the hardest thing to dry.
Yeah, so I couldn't do it. I just don't like wet socks. I never cared when I was younger. Now that I've become an older dude, I just can't stand it.
Right.
Watching him right now makes my feet weird, all squirmy. All right, appreciate the text again, and we'll do what we do one every hour. 803-404-6100 Firehouse sub text. We'll come back. Football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We'll continue on with Coach Lucas and Coach Robertson, some of their thoughts about defensive line play, pass rush pressures. Also, this NIL database is interesting. The average that a football player gets on NIL, basketball player by position. We're going to go into some NIL database stuff. And the money you think that they're getting compared to the money they really are getting. So we're going to get into that next hour or two during football in the 1 o'clock hour. Sponsored again by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Halftime show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head as we cook football in the 1 o'clock hour, again sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. We've been talking about pass rush today, Tyler. A lot about pass rush. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the Pro Football Focus numbers on South Carolina and their pass rushing grades. You know, and this is just by grade. And we have to throw out the top one because the top-rated pass rusher on the team was Marcellus Dial. A couple of blitzes.
I was going to say a very small sample size to pick from skews those numbers a little bit.
Just a couple of blitzes, that's all. So we throw that out. Bam Martin Scott, Tonka Hemingway both had the highest pass rushing grades for the Gamecocks.
They actually have the exact same pass rush.
77.7. But the interesting part of it is, you know, especially if you look at Tonka Hemingway. Hemingway, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, 19 hurries. Now, hurries are great, don't get me wrong.
Which he leads the team with.
But you'd like to turn hurries into, some of them at least, into sacks.
Sure.
Same thing with TJ Sanders, who was second in hurries with 16. You like to turn some of those into sacks. Now, Sanders did have 5 sacks. Mm-hmm. He is on the NFL radar, TJ Sanders.
Yeah.
So, again, you'd like to get some of those hurries and produce them into sacks, just like Brian Thomas had 12 hurries. That was third on the team. You'd like to see him turn that into some sacks. Alex Huntley, 11 hurries. Those are numbers. If you could take half, 30% at least, and turn them into sacks, you're affecting another team's passing offense much better. Dron Willis, his pass rush grade was second at 72.5. Remember, he came on in November. We don't even talk about him right now. Mm-hmm. So he's another guy to keep an eye on to see what can happen in that linebacker room. So those numbers, the hurries, start turning those into sacks. And here's Coach Robertson. We heard Sterling Lucas, the edge outside linebacker coach, talking about pressures and turning them into sacks. Here's what Tavion Robertson, the defensive line coach, cut 7, Tyler. Robertson discussing the technique that can improve the pass rush.
I learned this a long time ago from Coach Brian Cox. Pass rushers don't grow on trees. The best way is to work it every day and create your routine of every day to practice and just work your craft. If you think you can just go out here and just run up the field around these offensive tackles in this league, you're mistaken. And so pass rush is something you got to work every single day. It's like I said, you can't just go out and pluck the best pass rusher and stick them out there and tell them to be great. You got to study. You got to know your opponent. You got to know his moves. You got to know everything about protection. So it's a lot that goes into being a great pass rusher. But for these young guys, it's just basically working on craft every day.
Yeah, that's one thing. A lot of really good pass rushers are film nerds.
Yeah.
They'll watch the opposing team. If they're an edge guy, they'll watch that opposing left tackle and watch a lot of film and see if there are any tells about what the play could be, if it's a run or a pass, and just some other things, what they do well, what they don't do well, how you can attack them, how you can use your strength against their weakness.
And when you get to this level of football, you're not introducing new concepts. Like, these guys know what's up. It's about refining those small techniques, being efficient at the little things with the repetition and practice and stuff like that. You're not going to completely overhaul and change the way somebody does something completely. Like, it's those small little things you got to improve on, watch more film, those kind of things that make you a better pass rusher, whatever position you're going to play there. And again, Coach Robertson, when he came in right before the start of last season, so he had not had the entire offseason to be able to work with these guys. So now what does this offseason do with those guys? What does focusing on those small, little, intimate details about being a pass rusher do to improve this unit as a whole?
Yeah, and look, when you're in high school, like Dylan Stewart, all you do is line up and just go by guys, right?
Hey, go get the guy with the ball.
Okay, no problem. And he had no issue with that. Physically, look, even Jadeveon Clowney, who is obviously the gold standard here when it comes to high-profile freshman turning into high-profile college football player, there are some things Clowney had to learn when it came to the nuances of rushing the passer. And he was a physical freak who could still, in college, I'm just a better dude than you.
Right.
but he still had to learn some technique things. You just have to refine certain things. So you're playing against veteran, and we'll just keep sticking with the edge thing. You're going against a veteran left tackle in the SEC who, let's say that guy looks like he's going to be no worse than a day 2 draft pick. You just can't line up and go by that guy. You're going to have to, okay, do I swim? Do I club? What are my counters? Do I spin inside on him? Do I spin? What do I do to win against this guy? Okay, last time I rushed him off the edge, and I just tried to go around. This time, I'm going to start on his outside shoulder. I'm going to spin inside and see if I can get to the quarterback. All these different things you have to start doing because you just can't line up and blow by a guy. And if you can, it's not going to be all the time like maybe when you're in high school. So it's just very interesting stuff there from Coach Robertson as we've been discussing a lot of pass rush, hearing from Coach Lucas and Coach Robertson today. All right, Greg McElroy brought up South Carolina, my workout buddy, my chum, my bud. And here's what Greg McElroy thinks about South Carolina and their chances to go to a bowl game this year.
I think South Carolina is en route to the postseason. Look, they landed a top-tier running back transfer in Rocket Sanders. I think Lenora Sellers, they kind of know who he is. I think he's capable enough through the year, but he's going to be a great and dynamic athlete with how they're going to adjust when the run game. At the offensive line, that's something that we got to watch very closely. The weapons, something we got to watch very closely. But I like what they have coming back on the offensive side of the football. Defensively, this is where I really feel good about them. All right. A lot of momentum that was started in 2024, and a lot of that momentum is now moving in to, their second year, and in some cases their third year in the system. They got 8 starters back. All right. The front 7 added some legit blue chip prospects. They added some legit FBS starters in the transfer portal. So Clayton White, I think, has a really solid track record, and yet this could be their best group yet. So I am optimistic about South Carolina this year. And you look at their schedule. The schedule's so hard for South Carolina. Old Dominion should get that one. They're at Kentucky, very difficult game. Host LSU, Akron at home. So if you can be 2-2 in your first 4, you got to feel pretty good about it. Problem is you got to pull some spoilers down the stretch. You got to get a win over one of these 4 at home. Or one of these 3 at home, excuse me. Ole Miss, A&M, Missouri. All 3 of those come to you. Very, very difficult. Can you get one win in those 3? That's a question mark, because that would get you now to 3 wins. You have another win in Wofford, and then you got to go on the road and get a win at Vanderbilt. You got to potentially go on the road and get a win at Kentucky. You got to potentially go on the road and get a win at Clemson. So very difficult to envision, but I think they can get there because I expect them to be that good on the defensive side.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, if you're looking at this season on paper before it's even started, you feel like the defense is going to have to carry the way, especially like that first month when this offense is trying to get it together. There's so many question marks on offense. And that momentum that this defense is carrying from November. And like again, talking to the guys at SEC Media Days, whether it was Debo Williams or Alex Huntley, they have a confidence after what they did last November. And no, they weren't playing juggernaut offenses, but they still, Clemson didn't score an offensive touchdown. Dismantled Vanderbilt's offense. Held Kentucky under 20 in that win. The defense did their job. They started to make some plays. They started to force some turnovers. They were getting off the field better on third down. They weren't giving up big plays on the back end of the defense. Things got better. And now we say this all the time. Doesn't matter who you're playing. If you walk off of any competitive field in any sport and you won and you did well, you feel confident. And I feel you can just, again, talking to Huntley and Williams at SEC Media Days, you felt like they're carrying November with them, which they should, because that defense was really good. And I think they've gotten better. We went over it today. They got better on the edge. They're already solid to good in the interior. They got better at linebacker. They're deeper. They brought in guys who have done it at different places. I just think defensively is where this team is going to make their bones, especially early in the year. Now, hopefully the offense, it gets it together and gets cooking and starts Starts doing some stuff, being productive, being explosive, putting points on the board. And that's the hope. But you just don't know. You don't know about Lenore Sellers, the offensive line, the receivers. And if the offensive line isn't doing great, how good could Rocket Sanders be? When you take a handoff and look up and there's like 7 defensive dudes just standing there staring at you, that's not a good thing. So, to me, I've said it before, the offensive line, number 1, Lenore Sellers, number 2, those are the keys to the season. I think the defense is going to be good. I think out of the 444 wide receivers, I believe a few will pop. And if the offensive line plays well, South Carolina should be able to run the football with Rocket Sanders, the backs they have, and Lenore Sellers, who can do stuff with his legs. I just feel like that's where this thing is going. And if the offensive line can be solid and Lenore Sellers can at least be solid, to go with the defense, I believe, will be good. South Carolina should get back to a bowl game. And, Greg McElroy went over it. You're going to have to pull a win somewhere. We've been talking about going to Lexington and get a victory over Kentucky. Or could it be one of those home games against teams that are going to be favored? Right now, those A&M is going to be favored at Williams-Brice. Missouri will be favored at Williams-Brice. LSU obviously will be favored at Williams-Brice. Can you pull one of those? Maybe 2. We'll see. But I do. I believe it. I'm with Greg McElroy. They will figure out a way to get back to bowling. But a lot of it is going to be this team will be led by its defense, especially early. All right, so we have this ultimate season ticket thing. Again this year, 2.0. All you got to do is go to 1075thegame.com. Look at the little flippy thingy at the top of the website. When that little flippy thingy flips to, it's a crowd. It's an image of a crowd, and it says Ultimate Season Ticket 2.0. Click there. You get a form. It takes about 37 seconds to fill it out. It's not difficult. We're not asking for anything personal. You fill it out, you hit click or submit, and you're in. We will draw 3 folks the Monday of the week of the Summer Golf Classic. Those 3 folks have to be available to show up at the golf tournament, just like we did last year. And then we'll bring those 3 up. We'll pick the winner out of a hat, and you will get the ultimate season ticket, which is tickets to every Gamecock home football, baseball, men's and women's basketball game for the entire upcoming seasons. It's the Ultimate Gamecock Season Ticket 2.0, sponsored by our buds at the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Again, go to 1075thegame.com to register. We will come back as we do football in the 1 o'clock hour here on the game. Obviously, we'll hear some more sound from the Gamecocks, whether it's Coach Lucas, Coach Robertson, some of the players. Also, though, the NFL. Their top 100 is out. It's kind of interesting just who is not number 1. We're going to get to that next. And then there might be a trade after all for a high-level wide receiver before it's all said and done. Do I think that's going to happen? No. Even though the team has given permission for this wide receiver to get themselves a contract they would like, there's a method to that madness, and we've seen it before. We'll get into that coming up as we'll yip some NFL. It is football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head on the game. Halftime show, Terry Ford and Tyler Head, the 1 o'clock hour. Always we roll football, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Again, a lot of rain through the state, wind, just, if you don't have to go anywhere, don't go anywhere. It's very simple. If you have to get out, obviously be very careful. 11 inches of rain so far in Charleston. If you're hanging out with us, Myrtle Beach, a lot of wind there as well. Just Tropical Storm Debbie working her way north. So right now cutting through the Carolinas. All right, we've talked a lot about what Coach Lucas and Coach Robertson had said yesterday. Let's focus on a player real quick. Jared Brown, wide receiver transferring in from Coastal Carolina, talking about improving on the goals.
Coming into this year, the big part that I wanted to harp on was, my strength, getting bigger in the weight room. I feel like coming here, Coach Day and the strength staff has done a good job of helping me get to that point. And we've talked about the goals that I want to reach, and they're helping me get there.
Jared Brown's interesting. Again, he did some nice things at Coastal Carolina. They run a different kind of offense. Mm-hmm. And, Brown, a lot of bubble screens, a lot of little short stuff, yak yards. I mean, Brown's a yak yard beast.
Right.
So you figure South Carolina's going to get him the ball in space. He played a lot in the slot. And Brown's looking to get stronger, maybe to, obviously to maybe break more tackles, but also to be able to play maybe out wide a bit more if need be. But I think that, Jared Brown's going to be a very interesting player this year for South Carolina. If you're getting the ball in the right spots on the field, and he might surprise us, Tyler. He might improve his route tree. He might improve his technique. He might become a better rounded all-around receiver because in that offense at Coastal Carolina, he fit a specific he had a specific job, so to speak, and that was yak yards. His average yards per route, you've seen that, right? Mm-hmm. It's not much.
No.
He wasn't running a lot of routes like intermediate or deep down the field.
Yeah, it's somebody, you getting the ball within 3 to 5 yards, of the line of scrimmage.
Listen to you talking like Yuva.
I know, right? Paying homage to Yuva, who I think today was his first day of work at his new station, so congrats to him. But yeah, you get him the ball somewhere within 3 to 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and let his athleticism do the rest, which is the hope here. Now, how does that skill set translate over from playing at the Sun Belt level at Coastal Carolina to play at the SEC level? We'll see. But again, from what we've seen of him up to this point, you hope there's a good transition there.
All right, spinning off to the NFL as we talk football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. All right, so look, NFL.com does this every year. They do their top 100. And it's voted on by the players, fellow players. And I say this all the time. Everybody bags on fans for not being objective when they vote all-star games.
Sure.
No one's objective.
Of course not.
I mean, managers, coaches, front offices, owners, fellow players aren't objective. And here's example number, what do you think, 17 billion of this?
Well, they do it every single year.
Voted by the players, the number one player in the NFL is Tyreek Hill, wide receiver in Miami. Now, look, to me, he is the most dangerous skill position player in the game. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. But is he the best player in the game? That I would say no, because he doesn't have the opportunity to affect the game the way other positions do. But I think Tyreek Hill is the most dangerous skill position guy in football.
Yeah, 1,000%. And what Mike McDaniel does down there with the offense in Miami fits him perfectly, knows how to utilize him, and he was on track to maybe break Calvin Johnson's record last year if he doesn't have the injury a little bit later on in the season. So, yeah, a phenomenal player, one of the best wide receivers in all of football, and certainly deserving to be towards the top of the list, but it's hard to argue against Mahomes, right?
Well, here's my thing. He's been number one on this thing a couple times.
Yes. What changed?
Yeah, I mean, last year should have made him even better.
Yes.
I mean, that crew of wide receivers, I mean, let's be honest here. So you want to say, did you guys butter your hands? I mean, they led the league in drops. There was no consistent big play guy at wide receiver at all. Travis Kelce was really the only consistent weapon from week to week in the passing game. And look what Mahomes did. And look what Kansas City did. To me, if you voted Patrick Mahomes number one before, you had to vote him number one after last year.
You would think, but like you said, there is some fatigue, maybe some animosity as the Chiefs continue to grow their dynasty. 3 Super Bowls now in the past 5 years that doesn't show any signs of slowing down anytime soon. I'm sure there's a lot of guys in the league like, I'm sick of that Mahomes guy. Let me put somebody else up
I'm
there.
just sick of Kansas City.
Sure.
I'm sick of Mahomes. I don't like his brother. I think Jackson's a dangler. The wife's getting on my nerves.
Right.
I'm just tired of Taylor Swift. That has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes. I don't care. I'm just tired. I'm tired of all the Chiefs stuff.
Right.
And I think there's that fatigue naturally. And you and I had this conversation this morning that the more a team wins, the more everybody just naturally gets to hate them.
Of course.
And then look, the Chiefs, they do nothing. Patrick Mahomes seems like a really good dude. Kelsey's kind of a goof, but he doesn't like make you mad. He's not hateable. They're not cheating and deflating stuff and doing all the things that New England did. Head coach Andy Reid's a cool dude who seems like, he eats 50 cheeseburgers a day and wears Hawaiian shirts.
I think we all want to have a burger with Andy Reid.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to hang out with Belichick.
No.
But everybody wants to hang out with Andy Reid. Belichick showered 4 times a year. They had celebrations. The guy wore the same hoodie every day. Andy Reid seems like a cool dude. There's nothing the Chiefs do that we see that makes you want to go, I hate those guys.
Right.
Except one thing.
Win
all the bleeping time.
Yeah.
So I think this is just the example of the Chief fatigue that Patrick Mahomes gets voted fourth.
Yeah,
That's all.
and look, this isn't a list that's going to put anybody in the Hall of Fame or anything like that. It's just, polling the players on who they think the best players in the league are. And again, you have your own agenda when it comes to doing this. Your buddies, guys you played with in college, guys that are your own teammates or guys that you play against within your own division that you see more than other guys. Like there's a lot of ways that you can skew this on this list. But again, when you think about the best players in the NFL, Tyreek Hill certainly deserving of being up there, but it's really hard to unseat Patrick Mahomes after what the season he had last year.
Right, like Patrick Mahomes and last year Lamar Jackson, those two guys affected the game like no other players because they touch the ball all the time on offense. Every play starts with those guys. So it just, again, it just comes out to players aren't objective, and I think there's a lot. The Chief fatigue is becoming a thing.
Yes.
All right, real quick, another NFL note. Brandon Ayuk had a heck of a season last year.
Right.
He was one of the best wide receivers in the league, whether you just look at regular stats. ESPN has this thing called a wide receiver stat tracker where they go in these deep dive analytic numbers. And one is an open score, like what's your score of getting open on every play? Brandon Ayuk, I think, led the league in being open. He has had a phenomenal year, but the 49ers and Ayuk have run into a deal about Ayuk's contract. Because now it's time for Ayuk to start getting paid. Look, the 49ers paid Debo. They paid Kittle. They paid Trent Williams, the left tackle, who, by the way, is holding out as well. They paid Nick Bosa. They've paid a lot of guys. And the 49ers, it feels like they're doing the same dance they did with Debo, with Brandon Ayuk. But they did something different. I don't think they did this with Debo. They looked at Brandon Ayuk's agent, and they said, okay, Bob, go negotiate a deal with somebody. If you can find a deal of your liking out there, we'll make a trade. The Ravens did this with Lamar Jackson. People forget this. This isn't we gave up and we want to get rid of you. I think this is go out there and find the deal you're looking for. And if you find it, we'll accommodate you. You know why they said that, Tyler?
Because they didn't think he was going to find a better deal.
I don't think he's going to find a deal. Lamar couldn't find the deal. How many teams are kicking themselves in the butt over that, by the way?
A lot.
So this is what they're doing with Brandon Ayuk. Go find that deal you want so bad. And if you find it, we'll do you a solid. Because the 49ers are pretty sure that he's not going to find that deal.
Right.
I think Ayuk plays for the Niners. I could see him playing on the last year of his rookie contract, and I could see him franchising him. If you value Ayuk the way that people think the 49ers value him, they're not trading him. They're not getting rid of him. They just want him to go out there and see what's out there. It's like, oh, you think you can do better than me? Go find him.
Go out there and try and find somebody else.
Exactly.
See what happens.
And when Ayuk comes back going, I ain't going to find nobody else, then the 49ers and Ayuk will move forward.
Right.
The Patriots, the Browns are in this thing. Patriots have a lot of salary cap space. Matter of fact, next year, the Patriots have almost $100 million, which leads the NFL in cap space, future cap space. The Browns right now are top 10 in cap space this year, but they're in cap jail starting next year.
Well, and it's one of those things that do you find a deal in a place like the Patriots and see that, maybe you want to take a more team-friendly deal to stay with the 49ers and a winning organization. We'll see.
So we'll see what happens. But this thing that a lot of people are yelling about, this isn't to get rid of Brandon Ayuk. To me, this is to let Brandon Ayuk go out there and see if he can find what they don't think he can find. All right, halftime show, football in the 1 o'clock hour. Who is an underachieving college football program? We'll talk about that next here on the halftime show on the game.
Welcome back in. It is the halftime show. Tyler Head, Terry Ford, along with you on your Tuesday here on The Game, watching the rain continue to fall outside as we ever approach the start of college football season. Only 25 days until South Carolina and Old Dominion kick things off in week number 1. As Terry was talking about a little bit earlier, looking at teams that are underachieving in college football. There's quite a bit. And now the definition of underachieving is going to vary place to place, depending on where you're at and kind of what the minimum expectation and standard for said program, said university is, is going to be. And this list comes from Bill Connolly of ESPN as well as Adam Rittenberg, and they put it out yesterday. It's on ESPN Plus if you want to take a look at it yourself. But they kind of broke it up into different tiers, different categories based on, again, what the expectations are of said school and why that school is underachieving. I think it starts off perfectly. The first tier on this list is the college football playoff no-shows. These are teams that have never made the college football playoff, and one that we talk about quite a bit right at the top of the list, that being Penn State.
Oh, it's a perfect one to start with. I mean, they have, this is what's interesting. They have finished, all right, since 2016, I believe it is. Yeah, 2016. They have finished in the top 12 of the final college football playoff standing 6 out of 12 times. Or 6 times since 2016.
Which that's why we say this 12-team playoff, like, Penn State, this is for you.
It's a Penn State rule.
They should have been throwing a parade when this thing was announced.
I mean, this is perfect for Penn State because, let's be honest, Ohio State and Michigan have been Penn State's daddy.
Right.
They can't get past the Buckeyes or the Wolverines, especially the Buckeyes. Ohio State, Penn State is 3-17 combined versus those two teams.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get past them.
And that was...
No, I'm sorry. I take that back. They were 3-17 against AP top 10 opponents.
Yes.
But they have lost 3 straight times to Michigan, and they haven't beat Ohio State in a long time.
I think the year that they beat them was the year that they won the Big Ten in 16, but they'd already lost twice and missed the playoff, and Ohio State got in.
Remember, yeah, that's when Ohio State got in, despite losing to Penn State. I think you are correct, sir. So this is perfect for Penn State to be able to get into the college football playoff, but they're the top underachiever with last conference or national title. They haven't won a national title since 1986.
Right.
This is called college football no-shows tier. Florida's the next one. We talk about Florida all the time here. Again, the one thing that people talked about was the facilities need an upgrade. Well, they're working on it right now. They're upgrading the facilities. That started in 2022 with the opening of that Havner Center. I think it's Havner Center.
Mm-hmm.
So they've tried to fix that problem. You got a passionate fan base. The Swamp is a phenomenal venue for college football, just like at State College. I mean, that over 100,000 people walk into that stadium every home game.
Mm-hmm.
Florida should not be what they are. But you got too many cooks in the kitchen. You made some bad coaching hires. You have zero patience. All that combines to what you are now.
Well, and again, because the prior 2 decades, they were a championship-level program that was the top of college football with Spurrier and with Urban Meyer. But since they just continue to go through coach after coach after coach and just can't settle on somebody that they feel like is the true future of the program. And again, Billy Napier's on the hot seat this year, so they could be looking at maybe hiring another coach this time next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the culture there. I say this all the time. You need a guy, and it doesn't have to be like an egomaniac or an outward, blathering fool, but you need a guy that carries themselves with enough ego and confidence to basically handle that culture.
Sure.
Because you got a lot of cooks in the kitchen. A lot of people want to get their fingers on the program, and they want to be, the guy whispering to the head coach about this or that. Why do you think the most success they had? They have 2 guys who had big egos, big personalities, and were very confident in themselves, to the point of cocky.
Sure.
That's what you need there. I think Billy Napier's a good football coach. I'm just, the more I've watched and more I've seen his demeanor and his personality,
Well,
I just don't know if he's the right guy at Florida.
and it almost kind of seems like when the hire was made, I don't think a lot of people knew about his personality. And again, when you see the guy up there, like, is watching like paint dry, and they're like, well, this doesn't fit here. And I'm not saying that's the reason why they're pushing him out the door. The results on the field speak for itself, but he's just not a natural fit there. And I think that's contributing to why people are saying, okay, well, if things go wrong this year, let's get him out of here.
Paint dry, Billy Napier's speech. Paint dry. I'm going with A.
Probably.
I'm going with A. So I mean, that's just the thing is Florida needs a certain dude, and you got to go find that guy. And we went over this exercise in the offseason. Who could be the future of that guy
Sure.
at Florida? And it was a struggle to really figure that out right now.
And it's so funny, in this list details it here. Their last conference title, 2008. It has been 16 years since Florida has won the SEC.
Yeah. Think about it. It's craziness. But that again, when you're not patient, when the minute you hire a coach, there's a group of people can't wait to run them out the door. And when you have, again, a lot of meddling, this is what you get. All this comes down, by the way, you know what makes everything always better?
Winning.
The right coach.
Yeah,
Because then you win.
sure.
All right, Southern Cal's also won this list. Since Pete Carroll left, I mean, every now and then they'll pop and have a decent season or a really good season. For the most part, Southern Cal obviously has dropped and dipped since Pete Carroll took off. Now, remember, before Pete Carroll got there, they were going through a dip. Again, ready? The right head coach. But nobody thought was the right head coach. Nobody. Everybody went, who the hell did you hire? So were you going through a phone book and got to the C's?
Right.
But since Pete Carroll left, Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, Clay Helton, it hasn't worked. Now, Lincoln Riley, we'll see. Lincoln Riley's first year was a defense away from being in the college football playoff. Last year, the defense was so abysmal, they had no chance.
Well, that's the thing. When you look at the talent they had offensively these past 2 years, they grossly underachieved. You had the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, the number one overall pick, and that was the season you put together last year?
And now you've lost a lot of talent, especially Caleb Williams. Now you decided now this is the ironic part. Now you decide to play defense or try.
Right.
Now someone said, hey, Lincoln, there's this other side of the ball. You ought to check it out. It's called defense. They made all these moves on the coaching staff, in the portal, in high school recruiting. Everything now is shifted. I'm not saying they don't care about it. Obviously, Lincoln Riley will always care about offense.
Sure.
But they're now out trying to give a bleep about the defense. So we'll see. But Southern Cal, you see, a huge underachiever, especially. Are there any high school football players in California?
There's a few.
Just a couple.
Usually pretty good.
Now, don't get me wrong. One of the things, when Southern Cal was going through their dip before Carroll showed up, you heard about, this is not in the best neighborhood in the world, right? When Southern Cal is winning, no one talks about the neighborhood.
No, not at all.
When Southern Cal isn't winning, well, that neighborhood.
Yeah. When Southern Cal is winning, you're talking about Snoop Dogg and Will Ferrell and Adam Sandler hanging out at practice.
Yeah, by the way, nobody cares about the neighborhood when they're winning.
No, they don't.
I always find that interesting. Miami, the Canes haven't won a national title since 2001, haven't won a conference title. It was the Big East in 2003.
Yep.
Once again, questionable coaching hires.
Al Golden.
What?
Mark Richt had one good year there, but he was already on the backside of his career. The Georgia thing, was coming to an end. And
But I'll say this: Richt had that really good year. Then they weren't as good the next year, and they couldn't wait to run him out.
right.
And what'd they do? And now Cristobal, look,
We'll see.
we'll see. He's a heck of a recruiter. We'll see where it ends up. But he is bringing talent, but that's got to turn into W's at some point. We'll come back and finish this list up, at least part of it, and we'll get our Firehouse subtext the hour at 803-404-6100. The next one on the list, we know all about this one. We'll talk about it next. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head, football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors in the Game. Guess what? 100% chance of rain today, according to the Weather Channel.
Shocking. And that means it's all 100% of the area
Yes.
is going to be rained on, as we learned last year sometime.
Well, Jay didn't believe that.
No, it's true. That's how it works.
Really, an AMS certified meteorologist told us that, but Jay didn't agree with him. It's one of the best. I don't know what was the funnier Jay moments we had with him before he moved to 3 to 6. Was it the massive deep hate of Rick Springfield as a rocker?
Yes.
Or was it the non-belief that 100% chance of rain meant 100% of the area, as we were told by an AMS certified meteorologist?
That's right. And you give Jay those two topics, he can give you a week's worth of radio shows.
My man. So funny. The Rick Springfield was great. He just saw some thing online that called Rick Springfield a rocker, and he lost his mind.
The thing about Jay, when he gets fixated on something,
oh God,
he can't like detach himself from it.
He just can't let it go.
Can't let it go.
So funny. All right, Firehouse Subtext, the hour 803-404-6100. What you got?
Chris weighs in and says, "Is it realistic to expect Beamer coming off a 5-7 season, a 5-7 record, to land a top 10 recruiting class? I think of Miami posting a top 7 class coming off a 5-7 record under Cristobal. If Miami can do it, I don't see why South Carolina can't either."
It's interesting to think about it that way. Cristobal. Look, and Shane obviously is a very good recruiter, and the staff. They're excellent at recruiting. Cristobal is a high-level recruiter. He was at Oregon. It's one of the things that's carried him through his career is his chops in recruiting.
Well, Miami's probably a little easier to sell than the city of Columbia is,
I was going to say next. I mean, I know Miami's facilities stink.
Sure.
I get it. The facilities are awful. You're playing in a pro stadium. You're kind of Coral Gables, it's fine. It's Florida, right?
Sure.
I think you should be able to sell the University of Miami easier than sell the University of South Carolina.
Right. Well,
and plus the heritage of the U.
Sure.
I mean, and Cristobal played back then. He played for some of those teams. So Cristobal is an alum. He's selling the past, which was a phenomenal past. It is Florida, Miami, that whole area there. I think it's an easier sell than selling South Carolina.
Right.
And that's no knock on the state, Columbia, Shane. It's just if you want to be objective and take a step back and look at it, I think it should be easier to sell playing football at the University of Miami.
Right.
I just do. But it's a very interesting text. Thank you to have us sit here and run that through our head real quick. I mean, the Hurricanes are on this list of underachieving programs.
And going back to this list, I'm sure we'll look into more in the 2 o'clock hour as well. So many schools are just brands, right? Like Penn State, Southern Cal, Miami. Like these are just teams that if you talk to any random sports fan, they're just like, oh, yeah, that's one of the best teams in college football, right? No, they're not.
Not anymore.
And that's why they're on this list, because they've not performed at a level of what the brand and their history tells you they should be.
Right. And this next one on this list of underachievers, it's not a brand. It's the dictionary definition of money can't buy you success.
Yes.
Texas A&M.
Which Texas A&M in the past 10 years is such an interesting phenomenon in college football, because nobody really cared about A&M when they joined the SEC. They were an okay Big 12 team. They'd had some moments here and there, but nobody really paid them any mind. And they had that 2012 season with Johnny Manziel, and since then they've been a talk of college football, good and bad, every single year, seems like.
And they've been a massive underachiever.
Yes.
And more money is spent at A&M. I mean, you just signed a $75 million check for a coach to go away.
Yes.
Basically. You said, we're going to pay you $75 million not to show up here anymore. I mean, look at if that was Ed Orgeron, man. Remember, he loved, what was that, $16 million or $18 million or whatever it was?
It was like 37, actually.
Was it 37?
It's got about half.
All right, think if you would have gotten 75. So they spend a ton of money. Yeah, they're kind of a cult, and it's a little weird, but they just drop the dough. And it's very interesting. part of this is there's a lot of meddling. Now listen to this structure, and this will give you an idea of what's going on. You have, ready, the school power structure, chancellor for the university system, and the Board of Regents. You have the Board of Regents. You have a chancellor for the university system. You have a president for the College Station campus, and you have the 12th Man Foundation.
Right.
The NIL, the money arm. So you have a chancellor for the university system. You have the Board of Regents, president for the campus, 12th man. There's 4 right there.
Right.
4 people or 4 entities that are either going to have a say or want to have a say in what goes on with the football program. Plus, you have had, let me see this number real quick. You have had 5 coaches and 6 athletic directors since the turn of the century.
Not a recipe for success.
Not at all. So A&M's on this list as well. We'll come back. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions, Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. That's next here on The Game. Halftime show, Terry Ford, Tyler Head. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. The USA women's soccer team just, they scored. I believe they're up 1-0 now.
Be 1-0.
Yeah, I say nothing. I'm not part of that. I don't go with that whole soccer thing, man. Yeah, they get the lead. Men obviously are out. They got whooped by Morocco. And that ended that. Looking at the score, they have not shown the score yet.
I think they were in extra time, stoppage time.
Could have been.
Yeah, waiting for the graphic to pop up.
Same here. You know, let me get this out of my system really quick.
All right.
I understand. Yeah, 1-0 over Germany. 95th minute was the goal. I get you want to show crowd shots.
Right.
I get it to a point. I understand the journey of these players has to also do with their family. I get it. Please stop. We don't need it every time someone does something.
Right.
We don't need a shot of the family. We don't need a shot of everybody waving their flags all the time. I don't mind. I get occasionally show it. That's fine. Every minute, it feels like they're going to a crowd shot. Am I wrong?
Oh, there's another person holding an American flag.
Oh, hey, get that one. Quick, get that one. It's just like the gymnastics. Look, nobody's belittling the blood, sweat, and tears that the family puts in or their love for their athlete. No one's saying that.
Right.
But every time someone jumps, we don't need a shot of the family or somebody who's covered in USA body paint.
Right.
Constant. It's constant. The pool, somebody's swimming. There's a 2-shot. The swimmer and there's the family. Right. Watching the swimmer swim.
Simone Biles has nailed her floor routine. Let's see how John Travolta reacted to it.
I know. It's mind-numbing. I don't need to see. Look, Flavor Flav entertains the hell out of me.
Sure.
I don't need to see him clapping. I really don't. I think you have a Snoop Dogg cam all day.
That's
in.
That's a little different.
But everybody else, like Tom Brady's watching Simone Biles do a quadruple, whatever she's doing, and they show Brady go, wow. What does that do for me?
Nothing.
Please. Look, I know the Olympics are covered differently than other sports. I understand. But wow. It seems like this year has been worse than any other year.
One. You just missed another one.
Wow. Another fantastic crowd shot. It's like, enough. Just enough. And I understand, I understand the demographic target is different than regular sports broadcasting. I understand we're trying to make it a Lifetime, made-for-TV movie. I get all of it, right? I understand.
Right.
But this year, it feels like we're ODing on all of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like, like just watching a college football game, yeah, you get crowd shots as you go into commercial or after a score or something like that, but just because somebody got a first down, we don't need to show the dude in the front row with his stomach painted.
It's unbelievable.
Right.
It's just like, please, enough already. I want to watch the actual sport. It's just, and then, and look, I know this is the way it's evolved. Everybody's got a backstory that's going to drive you to tears.
Of course.
It's just everybody does now. Even the athlete that, his mom was a doctor, his dad was a lawyer. He lived in a beautiful home in a gated community, but, he suffered from the sniffles as a young lad. How'd that affect you? Well, I needed therapy for my sniffles.
I'm surprised, NBC Sports didn't poach Rinaldi from ESPN like Fox Sports did, because he would be perfect.
This is his wheelhouse.
Every single, grew up with a single mom, and I was an orphan. We lived in 12 different houses, and all the adversity you can want in a story, all rolled into one Olympics. Like Rinaldi would be putting out masterpieces.
Or even the kid that has like they try to, even the normal one.
Sure.
It's like, well, I grew up, my parents stayed together for 30 years and
Yeah.
I've got a loving family. Did you get hugged enough?
Yeah. It's like, well, there was this one time in third grade, nobody sat with me at lunch. So
How did you come back from that? Did you go through therapy? How'd you come back from that? To be an Olympic athlete when no one sat next to you at third grade when you were eating your peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
we're exaggerating, but not really.
No, we're not. It's the sad part. It's really, this year just feels like more over the top
Right.
than it has been lately. But anyway, so the U.S. women are up 1-0 on Germany. They scored in extra time. Obviously, we've got some weather issues here in our little part of the world. Please, if you got to get out, be careful. Take your time. Oh, all the things that you're warned to do or not to do, please. We got a lot of wind. Maybe not here right now, but in Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Hilton Head, other places, the weather obviously not good the next few days because of Debbie is in a bad mood.
Well, Bill and Preston tried to quell it by
Little
talking
Debbie
about Little
cakes.
Debbie's this morning, and it made me want an oatmeal cream pie, only to find out the vending machine in the basement is not stocked with them right now.
See, that's right. See, I love that. I still to this day, I eat the oatmeal cream pie. I'll pop the honey bun.
Oh, well,
I can still do those.
listen, oatmeal cream pie is the most versatile snack. It's breakfast,
unbelievable.
it's a snack, it's dessert, all rolled into one.
You can knock that thing down for lunch. Oatmeal cream pies. It's got oatmeal.
Exactly, it's healthy.
Yes,
Just don't
it's good
think about
for you.
all the sugar and stuff.
That's right. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. South Carolina, we heard from Coach Robertson, Coach Lucas today with some sound from yesterday. Let's focus on the players real quick. Heard Jarrett Brown talk about how he wanted to improve this year by hitting the weight room, getting stronger. Mazio Bennett, the freshman, who made a couple plays during the spring game. Here's Mazio Bennett on trying to get playing time and to climb the ladder in a very crowded wide receiver room.
Definitely, I feel like the goal that anybody should have is to dominate. Everybody wants to dominate, but also be a good teammate at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? If you do what you're supposed to do, it's going to show, and it's going to show on that field as well. But being a good guy that people want to be around every day, I feel like that's the biggest thing.
I mean, look, Bennett, like we talked about, was it yesterday? He's got a lot of eligibility left. It's a long way to go. Could he get on the field this year and make an impact? I mean, you're open to it because it's an open audition, right? I mean, nobody's guaranteed anything right now. And could Bennett be a guy that wins snaps and playing time? Sure, but he's a freshman. Got a lot of eligibility left before he can roll on out. Of course, always transfer, but still. We'll see what happens with Ben. I mean, he was returning some kicks, but then didn't they have 100 guys returning kicks?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah.
So he's in the mix there. And again, if he is talented enough, he'll find his way onto the field. And even if he doesn't this year, doesn't mean he doesn't have potential down the road. It is a very crowded and experienced wide receiver room, so it could be something that we may not see him in a featured role until next year, or who knows? We'll have to see.
Also, DeBron Gatling, kind of a forgotten name, right?
Right.
Don't talk about him anymore, do we? We did for a minute.
Right.
Remember that?
Well, and he was kind of a surprise commitment when he came to the Gamecocks, which he's a December guy. He was one of the last ones in the class.
So he's a guy that really hasn't been talked about a ton. Here's Gatling talking about folks who doubt the wide receiver room.
I feel like we most definitely do. The group that we have, we all are good at like certain things. You know, we got a good group, and I feel like Coach Furry pushes us hard every day. We'll be in meetings for about an hour or two, about twice a day. I feel like Coach Furry's doing a good job of teaching us the information because he came from the NFL and he done coached at every level that you could think of, and I feel like he's preparing us really good.
The thing about Mike Furry that I like, the new wide receiver coach, and just the conversation we had with him at Birdies with Beamer, he was just constantly talking about technique because it's so important as a wide receiver. It's like you'll see a guy like Cooper Kupp in the NFL and go, huh?
Yeah.
But Cooper Kupp is a really good route runner, and obviously everything you throw to him, pretty much he catches. Now, again, is he more athletic than you think he is? Yes.
Sure.
But, again, his technique is excellent. And And just like Nkoa, his running mate there at wide receiver, who was a 5th round pick, I believe, 5th or 6th round pick.
Yep.
Technique, getting open. And the Rams are really good at developing their wide receivers and putting them in the right position to succeed. But technique is a huge thing. Learning to run routes, learning to read the defense and what the defense is giving you and what it's not giving you. All these little things make you a next level wide receiver.
Right.
So I do the stuff that Furry was talking about was very interesting to me when we were yapping with him at Birdies with Beamer. So that's just some of the players and some of the things they're saying. And the wide receiver room's wide open. We've been discussing it. We'll see where it goes. You got some veteran guys from other places like our boy Larvadain. You got Jared Brown. We heard from him earlier. And Nick Harbor obviously is the huge wild card in all this. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with Nick Harbor. We know one thing. Nick Harbor can run really fast.
Yes.
And he's really big.
And the entire nation knows it now.
Yeah. And video games love him. So we'll see what Nick Harbor ends up being because, again, the running fast is great. Hey, Nick, run really, really fast down the field and we'll throw it up and hopefully it'll land in your hands and we'll get big plays. But for Nick Harbor to truly be an every down impactful wide receiver, what Mike Furry is talking about, development, route running, understanding, different ways to get yourself open. How do you get the feel for the open spot in a zone? All those things that wide receivers learn to do, Nick Harbor's learning because Nick Harbor was not a wide receiver in high school.
Right.
And Nick Harbor's also doing this thing, running track at a high level. So Nick Harbor's a big wild card this year, and we'll see where that goes as well. All right, what's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. And we're going to be picking at this thing for the next couple of days, but this NIL assist that has been put out by the NCAA is very interesting in many ways. One of the things I saw, Tyler, that really interested me was, and there's many, I shouldn't say one, but the first one I want to get to. They have a little pie chart. The percentage of deals per disclosure value range. What's the value of deals that have been disclosed? 0 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 5,000, 10,000 plus, or 5,000 to 10,000. You know what the number one percentage is out of these different categories? What's number one?
The sports itself?
You've seen it. No, out of the percentage of deals, the money.
No, what is that?
0 to 100. 40, let me see here, the chart. 48% of the deals, according to this pie chart, are between $0 and $100. Roughly half of your deals. And again, this encompasses all sports.
Yeah.
25, almost 26% are between 100 and 1,000. So almost 3/4 of these deals are under $1,000. So not everybody's getting rich. Now, when you break it into football, which we will in a second. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I broke it into football. That's football. That's your football deals. 75% of your deals in football are under $1,000. The median total average athlete earning, the average is $928. And the higher level deals, 10,000 plus, 8%. So these are very top heavy, is what we're saying. I mean, yeah, there are guys like our boy Nico at Tennessee making millions of dollars and a few other deals where guys are getting 7 figures. The quarterbacks are a different animal. Totally different animal. Like if you look at the quarterback position, which I'm going to have to take time to check everything off now. The quarterback position makes much more money. Matter of fact, you sent me you got that article that you sent me?
Yes, I do. Hold on.
So that will make it quicker. Because I printed it out, and you know where I left it?
In your office?
On my desk. Yeah. I mean, the quarterback position is making a ton more money on average.
Right.
Which does not shock anybody. That one's what, 150,000 or whatever it is?
I'll tell you on the other side. How about that?
How about we do that? We got to get out of here right now, and we'll talk about this on the other side. What's trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions right here on The Game. All right, we're rolling What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions here on the game. They're still rolling extra time. USA leading Germany 1-0 in the semifinal.
So how do they determine how much extra time there is?
I don't know. They got some guy in a super secret room adding it all up. That's one thing. That's one thing about soccer. Out of the many things, I'm just not my thing. Is tell me when this ends. I mean, they just all of a sudden they just blow a whistle and it's over. Nobody actually knows the extra time. Like when you're going to start extra time, why don't you say there's 20 minutes and 14 seconds of extra time and count it down?
It's a secret.
It's a super secret thing. Nobody knows.
You got to know the handshake and the door knock and
Knock
all
on
that
the door.
stuff.
Safe word.
Exactly.
So they're still rolling extra time. USA leading Germany in the women's Olympic semifinal in soccer. All right, so we look at this NIL assist deal from the NCAA, and we talked about going to the break. How much does the average quarterback make? It's average. This is top heavy.
Yeah.
Not every quarterback is pulling $151,000. The average per Power 4 quarterback in NIL is $151,275. But here's what's interesting: the average Group of 5 quarterback. Go ahead.
Yeah, 20,961.
Little less.
A little less.
Why do you think a lot of the?
And let's be honest here. And I know Grayson McCall's now since transferred to NC State, but a guy like Grayson McCall, who was at Coastal Carolina, was probably doing a lot of heavy lifting on that number with his deal. I don't know what it was, but I imagine he was getting paid a pretty decent amount because he's one of the better quarterbacks in all of Group of 5. So if you're, whoever at Bowling Green, you might be getting $100 and a free sandwich. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So little coupons.
Sure.
Go grab yourself a free order of fries. But that's the thing. That's the part of this. It's very top heavy. And with this average, the average is a little misleading. It is. Because not every power conference quarterback is pocketing $151,000 in NIL.
Right.
They're just not. Just like Group of 5. They're not all getting around $21,000.
No. And I mean, you think about $21,000 in today's world, that's not a full-time salary pretty much anywhere.
No.
So
I mean,
it's nice money to have in your pocket as a college kid, but
as a college kid,
it's not going to change your life necessarily when you get out of college.
And again, like we went over this, football players, if you look at the pie chart, about 75% of them have deals under $1,000. Also, what was interesting, if you look at this, Power 4 football players overall, their average, it's football and basketball, men's basketball together. Power 4 conference football and men's basketball players together average almost $90,000. Now, we'll read you the men's basketball, and you're going to go, what? Men's basketball players are earning more than football players by average because, there's less of them on the roster.
Yes.
So if a couple guys on the men's basketball team is pulling a 7-figure deal, then that lifts your average of men's basketball.
Sure.
So men's basketball averages more than a football player on the NIL deals. And let's see, the average total earnings of a Power 4 athlete in sports other than football and men's basketball, $7,500. So again, once you get away from football and men's basketball, this stuff drops dramatically.
Well, even women's basketball average per player $16,000.
Yeah. So when you look at this whole thing, and again, we want to remind you, it's very top heavy when you're looking at it. So that's just some of the ideas of where this is going, and anybody can find this. It's nilisassist.ncaa.org. It's a database, so feel free. Take a look at it, give you a better idea of the money with the NIL, what's been, I guess what has been disclosed. All right, so What's Trending at 2, sponsored by Traditions Fine Jewelry and Gamecock Traditions. We talk about the Olympics with the women. Right now, that's going on in Paris. The women in soccer they're still going, man. Still got extra time rolling.
We're
1-0.
The 115th minute now.
115 minutes of extra time, yes.
They've effectively almost played another third of a game. When it ends, who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? Last night, Simone Biles wrapped up her Olympic career.
She's open-minded about 2028.
Yeah, we'll see. And I mean, that's in L.A. That's in home. That's the hometown.
That's right.
That's U.S. soil. She won a silver last night, and I actually had this on TV. I'm Olympic dork. I really enjoy the Olympics.
Totally.
And I had it on, and I'm watching, and Biles, I mean, the woman from Brazil wins the gold in the floor exercise. But like yesterday, we're seeing that Biles finishes and wins the silver. Everybody's going, well, what happened? What happened was easy. If you didn't see it, Simone Biles kept landing out of bounds. Twice she landed out of bounds and got deductions.
Right.
I think it was 0.60. That's why she lost. Mm-hmm. If Simone Biles doesn't land out of bounds multiple times, she wins the gold.
Right.
Because the stuff she's doing is just ridiculous. She's, quadruple flips into, handstands. Her head almost hits the ceiling. She jumps so high.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching this last night, and look, no one's saying it because they're all trying to be nice. But the truth was, Simone Biles got these penalties for landing out of bounds because the way she's flying all over the place.
Right.
And that's why she lost.
Right.
Because you take away the landing out of bounds and give her the score, the extra point she would have got, she wins gold.
Yeah.
So. But
it's that thin of a margin.
Yeah, I mean, and what they're saying is, again, I know you'll be stunned by this. I wasn't a gymnast. You need a minute?
Shock, Terry.
You need a second one?
I'm guessing you weren't a male cheerleader either.
I can't talk about that. But anyway, so they're talking about the degree of difficulty of the stuff Simone Biles does. Nobody gets near it.
Yeah.
She does that thing off the vault that's like this crazy, it's got some name to it that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. I mean, what she's doing is just next level in degree of difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
So she beats herself. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that's
She
fair.
beats herself. No one beats her. She beats herself.
Right.
Like last night. And taking nothing away from the woman from Brazil. She's everybody says she's a heck of a gymnast. But no one is doing what Biles is doing when it comes to degree of difficulty and athleticism as a gymnast. It's just, it's craziness. And my girlfriend did gymnastics when she was younger.
Yeah, my wife did too, and she was trying to explain to me the scoring. I was lost.
I got nothing.
I was like, that just looks really hard.
Well, you and I were joking this morning. It's like when we watch it, everybody looks like they're doing the same stuff except Simone Biles.
How'd you score that? Well, it looked pretty perfect to me.
Right. I don't know any different. I just know watching Simone Biles, she's flying everywhere. Besides that, I got nothing. But so last night she loses. Well, they showed it last night. It was yesterday. And the reason she lost is she landed out of bounds a couple times and she got points deducted.
Right.
And so you lose. That's just the way it works in the points deduction. But she's just watching that, man. I just go, wow. I mean, again, I'm not going to watch the SEC championship gymnast meet or anything like that. But watching the Olympics and watching Simone Biles is just, you're going, that's not fair. It's just not fair. She's phenomenal, man.
Absolutely.
And she's 27, which is,
I know.
You're a senior citizen in gymnastics.
I don't remember if I mentioned this to you or not, but somebody pointed out the other day, like, I thought Ledecky was 40. She's like 28 years old. It just feels like she's been around forever because, they both get in the Olympics when they're 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And, you see them for over a decade. But yeah, plenty of, if Biles wants to continue to perform at the Olympics, plenty of, life as an athlete to go.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny because my girlfriend tries, because she did gymnastics and she did figure skating. So whenever we're sitting watching the gymnastics or the figure skating, she tries to explain it to me, some of the judging and some of this or that. And I'm just like, and then she'll look at me, you're just watching this because those girls are cute. No! Stop that. It's offensive. I watch this because I talk about sports for a living. I'm prep.
Analyzing.
Yes, I'm getting ready to do what I do for a living.
Just like beach volleyball.
Exactly. I'm trying to learn just women's beach volleyball. All right, get back in here. The greatest day in the history of the world is today, August 6th. We'll talk about it next on the halftime show on The Game. The Nest in the Vista on Gadsden. Over 70 years experience. Folks who know what's up when it comes to, redoing your home on the inside, whether it's appliances, a beautiful new tub. Maybe you want to change the lighting, the style of lighting, the style of your fixtures. You want to check some plumbing situations. You want new appliances, the cool stainless steel stuff. Maybe you just you need a new stove set up, new oven set up, whatever the case. You just call 803-875-2025. You set an appointment. You let them know what you're looking for, what style, what decor, what's your budget. And the people with over 70 years of experience will go to work for you. You walk around their vast showroom. Again, I'm spinning online looking at the showroom right now, and we've been there doing shows. It's unbelievable. 803-875-2025. The Nest in the Vista on Gadsden. Your dreams can come true. Oh, time for the greatest day in the history of the world, sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. A lot of Olympic stuff, obviously, a little bit of baseball. 2015, Ryan Lochte, who for a minute or two was one of the best swimmers in the world, became the first man to win the 200-meter individual medley 4 consecutive times at the World Championships. We don't know Lochte for all that, though. We know because he's a goober.
I think Ryan Lochte was the textbook definition of jock, like insane physical skills and performance, and the results speak for themselves. But just kind of like not the smartest guy in every other facet of life.
Yeah. I'm sort of thinking a lot of air running through his ears. Ryan Lochte.
He's always wondering what that whistling sound is.
Exactly. 2006, Floyd Landis, the cyclist, Floyd Landis is fired by his own team, and the Tour de France no longer considers him a champion after his second doping sample tested positive for higher than allowable levels of testosterone. Everybody talks about those sports. Cycling is such a dirty sport.
Oh, 1,000%.
Between the blood doping and everything else they've done, or they do.
You ride 50 miles on a bike on, oatmeal and creatine.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. I mean, you're going through the Alps.
Right.
I mean, you're not just riding in your neighborhood.
And by the way, they would be riding in this. Like, there's no weather delay. Like, no, it's a monsoon. Get out there.
Yeah. Grab your raincoat.
By the way,
hit the bike.
I don't know if you've noticed, those bikes don't exactly have grippy tires like your mountain bike does.
Oh, it's just the sport of cycling is insane. It just is, and all that stuff those guys do to themselves illegally to be able to compete at a high level, they're all doing it, or they used to. I haven't paid attention to it in a bit. I won't lie to you. I don't pay attention because Americans really aren't that good at it anymore.
I was going to say, once Lance was done.
Yeah, we don't care. It's an insane sport, and to win, there for a period of time, to win, you need the blood dope or do some type of PED or testosterone.
It's very much like college football before NIL. Everybody's cheating to some degree. You just hope you don't get caught.
Exactly. 2006, Tiger Woods at age 30 became the youngest player to win 50 PGA events. Just injuries really, and look, again, Tiger Woods is one of the greatest ever. But think about how much more he could have even done if the injuries didn't start getting him.
Yep.
And, of course, the little black book didn't help him.
Not really.
All right. Also, some Olympic stuff real quick. 2001, two-time champion Marion Jones is disqualified as her string of 42 consecutive 100-meter final victories is snapped at the World Championships. Marion Jones, again, tested dirty. Mm-hmm. Was such a dominant Olympic athlete. It was unbelievable for a period of time. She played college basketball. People forget what an athlete Marion Jones was because, again, all you think of, she tested dirty, blah, blah, blah. I remember she had the court thing and all that stuff going on.
Right.
Also, at the Olympics, Carl Lewis comes up twice. 1992, led a U.S. sweep in the long jump. 1984, also, Lewis wins the gold at L.A. in the long jump. He won 4 gold medals at the L.A. Olympics. And another guy, one of the most decorated Olympians of our lifetime, Carl Lewis. Well, my lifetime, you weren't born. And in 1994, who won the first Brickyard 400, Tyler?
That'd be Jeff Gordon 2 days after his birthday.
There you go. Jeff Gordon won the Brickyard 400, the first one. Lean down, kiss the bricks, all that good stuff.
Do you know, so in 1995, Dale Earnhardt won the second one, and he proclaimed, I'm the first man to win the Brickyard 400.
We sports fans miss that.
Oh,
the Earnhardt Gordon.
Here's the funny thing that people may not know. They were actually really good friends off the track, also business partners. They sold a lot of T-shirts. Mm-hmm. So the rivalry, because people thought, and again, back then we didn't have social media and all that kind of stuff, they thought they hated each other. Mm-hmm. No, they were great friends, and they knew the more people thought they hated each other, the better the rivalry was, more T-shirts to sell.
More money.
It's
both made more money.
Brilliant business.
Oh, yeah, and it was so funny because I remember, because that was the height of NASCAR's popularity.
Oh, yeah, 90s.
And I remember driving down the road, and you would see the the kid either peeing on the Earnhardt number or peeing on the Gordon number.
What is that? Is it Calvin?
Yeah. And it was the bumper stickers or the car stickers or whatever. And I used to laugh every time. It was a great rivalry. And people would here's the thing. They were laughing about it to make money.
Sure.
There were people in the tailgate lots beating the heck out of each other.
You're talking to a kid that was harassed relentlessly at races as a child, being a Jeff Gordon fan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Earnhardt people.
Grown men giving me a hard time as like an 8-year-old.
Dude, they would throw hands on you.
Yeah.
If they could have.
Sure.
It was nuts how people legitimately automatically hated each other depending on if you liked Earnhardt or Gordon.
That's right.
And it was great. It was great for the sport. The sport
Fantastic.
was never more popular.
Every sport needs a good guy and a bad guy.
Yeah. And look, I mean, and let's be real, the popularity starts to fall when Earnhardt dies.
Sure.
But the Earnhardt Gordon thing was it was a thing, man.
It was a moneymaker.
It was something else. It was because again, one guy is pure NASCAR and one guy's an outsider from Indiana and
from
Pretty Boy,
California.
Oh, he's California. I thought he was. Who's the Indiana guy?
He moved to Indiana as a teenager.
Okay, so he was Indiana as a
but
teenager.
he's originally from Vallejo, California.
But yeah, he's a good-looking Pretty Boy.
I mean, for the fan base at the time, that may well has been Mars.
Oh yeah,
California.
You're automatically hated.
Right.
The NASCAR folks, they want any part. If you were outside the South, that wasn't happening, man. That was fun. But yeah, Jeff Gordon winning the first Brickyard. I love that line from Earnhardt, from the first man. All right, that's the greatest day in the history of the world, sponsored by 1-800-GOT-JUNK. All right, you can give those folks a ring over at Charwood if you want to get in on our summer golf tournament. 803-755-2000. Get your foursome in. August 23rd, we're teeing it up. Again, we'll be raffling off Gamecock football season tickets. Also, we will have our giveaway for the ultimate Gamecock season ticket as well. Again, call Rock and those folks at Charwood, 803-755-2000, and get your foursome locked in. Obviously, we will have food. There will be the beverage cart running around for you. We always have a good time. We'll do the show out somewhere on the course. We've got to figure out how we can video stream it since, maybe we can have Rock hook up a Wi-Fi out there somewhere for us.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, we can get something done. So, again, August 23rd, our Summer Golf Classic at Charwood, 803-755-2000 to get more info and get hooked up on your foursome. We'll come back, wrap this baby up, get our Firehouse sub text to the hour at 803-404-6100, and we'll look out the window and watch Jay Phillips swim his way up Gervais to get us ready for the post-game show with Jay and Elijah here on The Game. We'll get to our Firehouse sub text the hour here in a minute. 803-404-6100 on the halftime show. Terry Ford, Tyler Head, Jay Phillips
more
is here.
AC/DC. More AC/DC.
Absolutely. Especially the Bon Scott. I like the Bon Scott AC. I mean, Brian Johnson's fine. I got nothing against Brian Johnson.
I like him both. I mean, yeah, Bon Scott.
I love me some Bon Scott.
Sure.
Get him out of the car and get him in the house.
That's right.
Just saying.
That's right.
All right, we'll get to our Firehouse sub text the hour in just a second. The handoff. Jay Phillips here with us, sponsored by Little Pigs, Alpine Street. So, I saved this for you. If you hook Jim Harbaugh to a high voltage lie detector yesterday, is he still on fire?
I mean, yeah.
Absolutely.
I can appreciate. Look, I don't know what the conversations behind the scenes are like, right? I think plausible deniability is a real thing for a lot of people. And it wouldn't surprise me if at some point, somewhere along the line, Jim Harbaugh said, hey, you guys just find out what you can.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's my thing. That's what I think. If nothing else is
that's it, you know. And
it could be as simple as that.
He leaves the room, right? I mean, we know that Wild Stallions was like, seriously, and I try to mean this in the nicest possible way, but like obsessed.
Sure, he was a nutbag. Yeah, he was crazy with his manifestos.
He's so genuinely and desperately wanted Michigan to win. You know, that he conned some people into doing, you know, and according to this latest draft, you know, had like interns and whomever believing, oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. Don't you, I got you.
I look at it this way.
But then Sharon Moore deleting texts and then admitting to deleting texts and then turning over said deleted texts, but only because they, whomever the investigators are, were able to use some type of device and literally go in and go. And at that point, they're kind of like the feds. They're like, hey, Sharon, like which one of these choices do you want? That we provide them or that we provide them and you provide them?
Right.
And at that point, you know, so, but for Harbaugh, I don't know, Terry, seriously, like I know, dude's a coach. Dude's a great coach.
Sure
you don't do what he did at Stanford and the Niners. And he did make a difference for Michigan. And coaches are always looking for whatever edge.
Sure.
But to your real point, like, I'm not naive.
Right.
But at the same time, it really could have been as simple as what I just said.
I think a lot of them do that.
I mean, you guys go find out what you can.
They'll do this. Hey, we got this guy, this or that coach, and then he'll go, hey, go whatever we can get. Yeah. Let me know. Whatever we can do. It could have been as simple as that. And that's, but you know, and that's my thing with them. Don't pretend you don't know.
Yeah, don't like.
And that whole I don't lie and I don't stop. Look, dude, you sign off on everything that happens in your football program.
Yeah.
And you knew this, and you knew to some extent what was going on.
Isn't it almost worse? I kind of draw comparisons to what happened last year at Northwestern with Pat Fitzgerald. And that's a completely different type of thing. But as a head coach, if you're saying you didn't know this was happening under your nose, that's even worse.
Exactly.
Right. Because all the high-level guys know everything. They have got, like, informants, and they've got people bugging things. Coaches know everything. Everything that's going on in their program, they know. So when you sit there and say you don't know, the good ones, you know you're lying because good coaches know everything. But you're right, Tyler. If you don't know, then guess what? I got to fire you anyway because you're not a good coach because you don't know everything that's going on.
What, 10, 15 years ago? Because it used to be that a head coach wasn't technically responsible for his or her assistants if, they did something like that. Right. And then they were like, hey, no matter what, you're the captain of the ship.
We go by the lack of institutional control now.
And
the other thing, look.
But that goes to the funny thing about Stoops, and how
I know.
No athletics staffer reasonably should have known that 11 football players were being paid by the university hospital. Come on, man. What are we doing?
I do.
What are we doing?
I know. Just stop.
11 of them?
Stop. Right. Just stop.
Come
on. Come on. And it just always just makes me laugh when it's like, look, you knew. If you want to die on this hill and you know you're not going back to college,
Right.
that's fine.
Yeah, Harbaugh's done with college.
Yeah, if you want to keep going down this road that, you knew nothing and you're pulling the Sergeant Schultz, and that's fine, man, whatever. But anybody...
Good reference.
Anybody,
for some of us.
You and I.
I get it.
Tyler's going, what the hell's a Sergeant Schultz?
Yeah.
But do you even know?
I do
No,
not.
he has no idea.
He has no idea. But every now and then he surprises
He's
you.
probably
every
heard
now
of the
and then.
show Hogan's Heroes.
I
He's
have
never
heard of Hogan's
He's
Heroes.
never watched it.
I've
He
never
would
watched
not-
Hogan's
yeah,
Heroes.
Yeah, if you get bored, go look up Sergeant Schultz and you'll see what we're talking about. Our generation, it's a kind of a thing we used to have. But in some way, shape, or form, I always talk about this great John Wooden about Sam Gilbert. John Wooden knew. The minute the name Sam Gilbert came up, Wooden left the room.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yeah.
And so what's happening. And look, that rule, anybody can take their phone out today with these fancy smartphones and
Don't get caught.
videotape something.
Don't be, again, what we said about Stallions is, dude, don't be so just brazen with this, man. Show just a little bit of tact.
By the way, they showed the video of him on the sideline at Central Michigan.
Yeah.
It's never not funny.
And that's the thing. It's one thing to buy tickets to a game and film it from the stands, but to go through the process and Bobby Valentine the thing on the sidelines with the recording video glasses or whatever, that's a whole different story.
I'm sorry. It's still funny watching McElwain walk by him.
Yeah, and then McElwain goes, the sign stealer guy. It's like, whoa, Jim, how'd you know he was the sign stealer guy, bro?
Wow.
And one of your assistants got him to sideline pass?
Well, Stallion's got him a good deal on a vacuum cleaner. So
Exactly.
Let it slide.
Yeah.
Plus, he used to be a Navy SEAL. He's got ways to make you do whatever he wants.
That's another thing, But anyway, Stallions has clammed up. Harbaugh.
Doesn't he have the show coming? Stallions is doing that
he's
whole thing.
That's why the allegations are being.
I agree with you 100%. That's why the NCAA, right? They got it out there. So anyway, what do you got coming up, man?
We'll have more on the Harbaugh thing, the Kentucky thing, the new NIL portal.
We were talking about that earlier. It's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Out, yeah, and more
Pretty
logistics on Saturday night's game.
All right, post-game show next. Tyler, nice work. We'll do it again tomorrow.